Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is John Keys and Kelechi Onyebuchi. However, you know what, guys? Oh, look, it worked on the first try. Oh my gosh. You remember I was like going through and trying to set up everything? I forgot to set up the cameras. So for this show, so I did not know when I went to this scene that I was going to actually have you guys because, of course, Mr. George Stallworth is not joining us tonight.
Okay, all right. Well, wherever George at, please, leave his teeth in his mouth and just take his wallet. All right, that's it. That's all I'm
Wow,
saying.
you went
What?
dark.
What?
Leave
It's
his
not
teeth
like,
in his mouth and just take his wallet.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just
he's
saying.
gonna have fingerprints and stuff. Do you want them to just cut off his fingertips too and all that kind of stuff?
I'm not saying that. This isn't Reservoir Dogs, man. Come on now. We ain't got to do all that. Just hit him with the 1-2. Maybe knee him on the way down, just for posterity's sake, and just take his wallet and keep it running.
Wow. And that's how we started the show. Kelechi,
Yeah.
how are you doing tonight?
Estoy muchísimo bien. ¿Y tú también?
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Chévere.
All right. Well, we have an outstanding show tonight. Normally, we've got a ton of headlines and things. There's no need. There's no need to talk about headlines because there's only one thing to talk about, and that is UFC Fight Island. Actually, there's one thing to talk about that was announced at UFC Fight Island, but we'll just make it part of the headliner because that's what we're going into. This is the headliner. All right, this is the headliner. This is where we talk about the number one topic of the day, and that is UFC 251, the debut of Fight Island, which I think last week we were a little disappointed because it's like, oh, well, it's just Yaz Island. We fought there before 3 times.
Now, y'all were disappointed. I was still excited because I was at least expecting, they didn't have to have the tiki torches out there, but at least like that bronze pot fire pit, they could have had one on each corner there, and maybe, saying, somebody saying Kumite, fight or something like that. That is my only disappointment with this. And there was nobody doing Denmark.
There's no one doing
disappointed in the whole setup. For all that talk about, it's going to be on the beach.
Yeah,
like,
what happened
It was
to the
on the beach.
What happened? It was on the beach in a big tent.
Yeah, like
What good was it to be on the beach if you're sitting there in a tent? No, we want to see the sun setting or rising. I think the sun was rising because they're fighting in the morning.
It's like 12 hours ahead of us, but
yeah. So, but still,
I mean, we could have. I mean, I would have been dope just to take all the lighting out and just have big strobe lights, like above the sun for setting and
why you are not part of the production team.
See,
yeah, like
if I was part of the
how
production
crazy
team,
would it be
there
to
would've
watch a
been
fight in
every country
strobe?
going on? Okay?
Right? Why didn't
We would have had
Shaolin
if I was part of the production team, there would have been some Shaolin monks, some karate dudes. They would have been doing some wuxia.
Could you imagine if they started UFC with like a demonstration of each one of the martial arts and it kicks off with like Shaolin monks doing a demonstration? Like,
yeah,
I'm about that life.
Yeah, and you got those big Japanese drums where they're like
with big sumo wrestlers doing a pre-fight fight, and then
one sumo wrestler is missing a tooth because of we've got to harken back to the old UFC one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, good one. The first knockdown, as a matter of fact, was a kick in the mouth with the tooth going flying into the announcers.
There you go.
That's dope. That's what I'm talking about. We need to make that happen. Dana, you heard us.
See,
at least it happened.
It did happen. And you know what? 1 or 2 people saw it.
Oh, biggest UFC, biggest pay-per-view since McGregor versus
Khabib. No, but it's the biggest pay-per-view since.
I think part of that was just the lore and mystique about it being at the island. I personally felt like the card didn't live up to the hype, but I know others disagree.
What? The card didn't live up to the hype.
No. What?
What?
I mean,
Wait, hold on. Let me get my voice
prove me
high as
wrong.
his. Let me get my voice high as his. What? What
Yeah,
are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
No problem.
That was quintessential. That was seriously quintessential.
It was a great card. It was an outstanding card. It was stacked from top to bottom. We're going to even go with the feature fight tonight, talk about that a little bit, because we had a newcomer come to the UFC. But let's finish off Fight Island. So Fight Island, Yaz Island, whatever you want to call it, I think they did a good job bringing everybody out. I like the way they had kind of Megan O'Leary on the side, kind of killing the time as the fighters were walking out. Main card, they even had the walkout music happening. I thought that was all good. I enjoyed it. I still don't understand why, when there is an empty arena, while we've got a ring girl carrying a big ass sign.
That was just for notification, man.
But I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum in shows past. Like, this is a relic of a sport from the sport that no longer needs to exist.
I mean, there's big screens. There's big screens that tell you what number it is. You're only counting to 3, except for other fights where you have to count to 5. And the fact is that it's an empty arena, and you really need the card for the people in the way back or in the nosebleed section. So with nobody in the arena, and you got signs that show you in the middle of the fight what round it is, why are we walking with this ring girl? But that's okay. That was one thing that stuck out to me.
I don't appreciate your attitude.
Since it's not on the run sheet, but I do want to talk about it. What was announced at Fight Island UFC 251 is that we have a new sponsor for UFC Fight Kit.
Oh, word? I missed that.
Yes. It is Venom. They chose Venom.
That's a
Honestly,
good call.
That's probably fitting for the brand. I wish it was Nike, because I might actually wear something UFC, but Venom's way more fighter friendly. They've been in the game a long time.
It makes sense. Right. It makes sense, because what? You had Tap Out, you had Venom, you had like Affliction. Hayabusa, yeah, that's right. So you had some of those initial brands. I'm glad they chose Venom, just because it's a company that actually understands the fight game. Remember, when UFC Fight Kit came out by Reebok didn't understand. Like, it was like nobody at Reebok ever watched an MMA fight in their life. And then what ended up happening was they had country flags wrong. They had names misspelled. It was all kinds of stuff that went wrong on their debut. And it was like, guys, if this is what we're going to get from Reebok, then maybe this was the wrong vendor to go with. And the fact is, they never really connected, at least for me, because even when you think about the number one thing that I want to see when a fighter comes to the ring, it's their walkout shirt.
Yeah. And
even when Reebok did the walkout shirts, they were atrocious. They were ugly. I mean, think about Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone. Those were two of probably the ugliest shirts. Probably at that point, Reebok knew that UFC wasn't going to renew the contract, and so they were like, all right, then, well, we're just going to do whatever. It was some of the ugliest walkout shirts ever. But I digress. You can't do that, man. You can't do that.
Yeah,
all right.
You can, actually.
Comments coming in from the audience. I got Mr. Dixon, who's watching tonight on YouTube. And he said the ring girls are nice. The ring girls are indeed nice. However, they are unnecessary.
I can't speak to their personality, so yeah.
So, mad shout out to Al. I agree with Al on this. The ring girls are super necessary. Okay, they are
super necessary.
So much.
He gave us the super necessary. For those of you who don't know, super necessary is those are encoded words. So that was a fight between Jorge Masvidal, who we will be talking about later tonight, and Ben Askren. He knocks Ben Askren out with a flying knee, spectacular flying knee. 5 seconds the fight lasts, and then before the referee could come in and stop the fight, Jorge Masvidal drops a couple of bombs on a knocked out Ben Askren. In the post-fight interview, they asked him whether or not those extra shots were necessary, and Jorge Masvidal answered, "Oh, they were super necessary." So, super necessary, when you hear us say that, that is the reference that we're making. Mr. Johnny Hearns is watching us tonight. He's like the walkout shirt. What are you talking about, the walkout? Like the shirt that the fighters wear that's not the kit, but it has their name on the front?
Yeah.
If you look at
design.
yeah, it's usually a design. I could think of Conor McGregor's at the Conor McGregor Cowboy Cerrone, that fight, both of them had really ugly. Look at this, Mr.
Surprise!
Yeah.
All right.
We got George Stallworth here tonight.
Hey, I heard your boy Ryan already over here hating on ring girls and stuff. Well, let's get it.
Coach coming with the heat.
Yeah.
Why you hating on ring girls, Ryan?
It's just unnecessary.
I'm with Ryan.
Would you like to walk around and hold the card? I mean, maybe somebody would like to, observe you walking around.
Listen, all I gotta say is this: it's an empty arena. Who needs to look at the sign?
So you're saying you can't appreciate, this young lady walking around holding the card up just to, signify to you that we're in the third round?
Not from Dallas, Texas. We don't even get to see her walk because we're watching highlights at the time. They don't even show us her walking.
You don't want to see Ariana Grande or?
Nah, I'm good.
Ariana Celeste.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see Ariana Grande. Yes, because she sings. Ariana Celeste just holds a card up.
Would you feel better if we had somebody sing the national anthem and then no?
Go ahead, leave that out.
You scared somebody gonna take a knee or something? I mean, a fighter gonna come in and take a knee.
Wow.
No, I just feel like why is this in my sport? Like it's not. The national anthem wasn't part of U.S. sports until like recent history.
Yes and no. The national anthem was a part of U.S. sports in the early 1900s. The national anthem was played in U.S. sports. However, teams being on the field, especially in the NFL, wasn't something that happened until recent history. So in the mid 2000s was when they started having football players out on the field. But they've played the national anthem before sporting events since like the 1920s or 1930s.
Actually, it's more like around about 1913.
Okay, something around there.
Guys, I apologize for popping in hot. I know I'm way off the run sheet. I hadn't even had a chance to look at the run sheet, but let's go.
The run sheet is very simple.
Is that beverage.
You what?
I saw that beverage off to the side. I was like, oh, that's where the heat's coming from.
Yeah.
No, that was freshly poured.
Yeah, freshly poured, number 4. Freshly poured, number 4.
I wish.
All right, let's get into it. Let's go into the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we talk about the fights that were on Saturday night, and it was UFC 251, Usman versus Masvidal, Saturday, July 11th, 2020. Yaz Island, a.k.a. Fight Island, in Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates. And so we had there were 5 fights on the card, but we're going to talk about 6 fights because I want to talk about that featured fight. This was Volkanovski, who was a light heavyweight contender for the title, who faced against I'm gonna mangle his name, and I apologize, but it's Jiri Prochazka.
I bet you're gonna get his name right after the night, though.
Oh yes, I am. So Jiri Prochazka is a brand new fighter. This was his UFC debut. All right, they wanted him a few years ago, and he said no. He's like, I haven't trained enough. I haven't gotten enough experience. I want to get better before I start facing the beasts that they have in the UFC. And so this was his time to test his mettle against one of the great light heavyweights that's currently fighting right now, number 7, Volkan Ozdemir, and he defeated him.
My God! Not
knockout.
Only did he defeated him by Dana's White definition of domination. He came out there. He for the 48 seconds that was going on, because I say 48, it was 49 seconds because the last 2 seconds was a 1-2 and he hit the ground. But he came out there. Any shot that Ozdemir had, he just laughed it off. He laughed it off. He was in his face. He was talking smack to him, and then at one point, just bap bap, he's on the ground, and it was done.
2 pieces in a biscuit.
Yes, it was.
So for me, it was crazy because I start getting emotionally invested and scared for the fighters when they are not just standing in the pocket and fighting, right? Like this guy was sitting there dancing around, had his hands down, sticking his face out, and Ozdemir was touching him up. That first round, dude's face, Jiri's face, he comes back and his face is all red. And I'm like, dude, you can't be, this is the UFC. You can't be dancing like that. What you doing? You can't be dancing like that. And then,
So he went boop.
boop, boop. And then I'm like, hey, if you can do that, dance all you want.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can dance if you wanna.
Yeah, we got you. We got you. Safety dance. We got you. We got you.
Yeah. We heard.
Listen. I'm impressed because safety dance predates you. So, that respect.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Speaking of dating me.
Oh.
That's all I
Give
have.
away that Tinder or that Grinder profile.
Oh. So here we go.
Hey, someone get Coach's mic.
Yeah.
Someone get Coach's mic right now.
Yeah. Do I need to give him the KC and take him off screen?
All right.
Man, we are no good tonight.
All right.
We are
All right.
no-
So that we didn't pick that fight, but it was one where the knockout was spectacular. This guy, I think, may be the real deal. Anybody getting on the hype train with this guy? Anybody getting on the hype train?
Not yet.
Nobody?
I will jump on that hype train. In fact, yeah, I'm jumping on that hype train. I want to see what he's going to do. Look, debut beats number 7 in that division, man. This guy could easily be facing John Jones in another 2 or 3 fights.
He's a tall dude. He's tall. He's big. He's lanky. He's got an 80-inch reach. I know Jones is 84, but the way this guy moves and the confidence that he has, I can't wait to see him fight one of those number 5 through 1. Somebody in that area.
Johnny Walker.
Dude, you can't help but love a guy who gets the call up and says, you know what? I'm not ready yet. I'm going to wait and I'm going to get better. And then he shows up and debuts by knocking out the number 7 guy in the entire division. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Let's not fast track this guy. He's already given us the protocols. Don't fast track me. Let me walk up to this. So, I'm on the hype train.
Yep. I'm on the hype train too. I like I said, I was scared for him because of the way he was moving around and acting all lackadaisical. But that level of confidence to be able to take those punches and then finish it off with a devastating, combination. Shoot, that's the kind of guy I want to follow.
What is the hype train for our
really
uninitiated? Well, there's followers listening right now who aren't.
I like it.
Okay.
There you go.
People
I'll be your Huckleberry. Come on.
Yeah. So when we, we call it the hype train. Some people call it the bandwagon. But it's whether or not you're going to ride or die for this fighter. Are you going to back this fighter in his upcoming fights? And basically, what George and I are saying is, yes, when I see Jiri again, I'm going to be like, yeah, I got that guy. I saw him fight. I believe in him. That's my dude. I'm on the hype train. You want me to do the train again?
Yep.
Let's
I
do
love
it again.
the term ride or die because whenever it's thrown at me, I'm like, I'm not willing to die for pretty much anything. So
I'm glad they're talking about. I'm glad they're talking about the hype train because we do have some hype train derailments that happened on Saturday night.
Yeah. Talk about that. But before we get into that, good segue, Mr. Keys. But before we get into that, I just want to say, I got a little bit of clip for you guys. I want to play this for you real quick. Hopefully, it's not too loud in your ears.
It's the man we all know and love.
That's right. Who picked perfect this week? Who picked
It's
perfect
the
this
man
week?
we all know and love.
This guy.
Did he really put the man we all know and love on there?
It's
he
the
did
man you
that.
all know and love.
You.
It's the man you all know and love who picked perfect this week. Everybody else got something wrong, but one guy got them all right.
Oh,
I mean,
my
are we
God.
talking about official picks or what we said while we were in the text thread? 'Cause then
The
I'm perfect.
show, what we picked last week. Nostradamus, you're out because you weren't on the show last week, so you got
I
saved.
beg, shut your dirty mouths.
But two of these guys down here below on your screen, they got some wrong.
Don't be calling out my name with your too tight knit shirt on up there.
Yeah, when I first got it, it wasn't too tight.
Coach came.
Coronavirus.
You're going to choke right now. Somebody got you in an anaconda or something.
And it's in a self-imposed Kimura.
Choke.
All right. First fight of the night, Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zandt. Ribas got rid of her quick. 2 minutes, 21 seconds in round 1 by armbar. I said that you need to start calling 12 gauge Paige Van Zandt 6 gauge because she lost one of those arms.
Yes, she did.
Well, I hate it for her.
Gauge works. She's more like a 410.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
We talking gun culture here.
I'm just saying.
Don't make it sound like we don't know guns around here.
12 is
No,
easily
Paige was
divisible.
up for basically contract negotiation. So she came out on the losing end on this, and I'm interested to see whether or not the UFC is going to offer her a contract or whether or not she's going to wind up signing with someone else, man. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Because,
Right.
you know, as much as we want to hate on Paige, you know, some of y'all are some haters when it comes to some of these fighters.
Hold on there,
Well,
Mr. Stallworth.
Go ahead,
Because
John.
we do know what Mr. White said about it, and it was none too friendly. Okay?
It was not.
About
He-
Paige?
Put herself in
Yeah,
that
he
situation.
put Paige and Curtis Blades pretty much in the same bucket and stirred it around and said it's the
Hold
same
on.
slop.
Did you
Okay.
say Mr. White or Mr. Smith? Because
No,
sometimes
Mr.
the
White.
two are synonymous.
No. I understand. They are sometimes, but no, Mr. White this time put Paige Van Zandt, pretty much let her know in so many uncertain terms, your services will never be needed for the UFC.
He smacked her on the hand.
That's right. So
So part
Pretty
of that
much.
comes down to this was Paige's last fight on her contract, so we know that,
Mhm.
right? But leading up to it, all her UFC press, she made the mistake. I don't know if it's a mistake because I believe in pay transparency, but the fact that she made more money outside of the octagon than in the octagon, and she makes more from advertisers. So why would she do this? I mean, you can make those statements if you win, but when you say that and then you can't, you're not in a position to negotiate a higher contract if you're coming off repetitive losses, right?
right.
And this wasn't even a grudge match. Like if she wanted to make this really about money and something that could tag on to a secondary fight or even a rematch that we would care about, then you got to pick up the Macy Barber fight. Even though Macy doesn't deserve the fight, there's legitimate bad blood as she's hitting on your husband. And so then you have some level of leverage where viewers are going to want to see what happens win, lose, or draw, right?
Yeah.
But you can't
Whoa. Let's rewind for a second. Did you say she was hitting
Was this
on
Hamilton
her husband?
rewinding?
Hitting on her husband, like,
reverse.
not as in like sparring with, but like, hey, what's your number, baby?
She's shooting her shot.
Yeah,
Which is
that's right.
Macy
way-
Barber shot her shot, or you saying Paige shot her shot?
Macy Barber shot her shot to try to get the fight going. She was trying to stir up controversy, so she was shooting her shot at the new Mr. Van Zandt. And,
Oh, wow.
That's why she didn't get a shot with Paige, is because for all the other trash talk that was going on, when you came for her family like that, she was like, "No, you don't deserve a shot. I'm done."
I was unaware of this. I knew there was like some heated whatever. I didn't know it was that kind of backlog. Look at you getting your Ariel Hawani on with the inside scoop.
That's right.
I mean, for those of us who fight out of a gym.
Oh,
See,
well, here you go.
Here we
And-
go.
and to-
That was towards Ryan, because Ryan talks trash about me never getting fighter interviews, even though I was at Factory X. I was like, I may not get the interviews, but I know the tea.
Okay.
Oh.
That's
So
good.
the words that Mr. White had used was she got smoked. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Well,
I-
and
you know,
Johnny Hearns is saying down
strangely
here
enough-
that Dana White said that she needs to explore free agency. I wanted to get that out there.
yes.
That Dana White was like, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, explore free agency. and then there was silence.
Well, honestly, I felt like she just got caught.
Oh yeah, she did get caught.
I felt like, she got submitted. I feel like she just got caught, man. I think, I think that fight could have gone on longer if she hadn't just got caught in a bad position. If you look at the way she was trying to escape that armbar, she had the right idea, but that other leg from Ribas kept her from rolling over. If that leg wasn't there, she would have rolled over. She would have escaped that armbar.
But do you think that as a high-level UFC fighter, you should know how to roll out of that? Because, I'm not a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, and I was thinking, why would you roll into the submission?
She wasn't. She was doing the proper thing. There's no way she could have known that other leg was there to prevent her from falling over into where she thought she was.
But that's the thing, right? Amanda Ribas is, I think she's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. Like there was not once she got her in the armbar, there wasn't any place you were gonna go. And even the way that she rolled it over, turned it over, and did a body down armbar. That was
armbar.
Yeah, that's high level. That's high level jiu-jitsu right there. Paige was,
but again, Paige did the right thing. She just couldn't account for that leg being there to stop her already. Ribas was playing chess. Paige was playing checkers.
And so then she didn't get caught. That's all
caught.
I'm saying. If you're playing checkers and the other person's playing chess, you didn't get caught. You fell into the trap. That's all I'm saying.
Smoked. Okay, in other words, you got smoked. And she is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a black belt in Judo. She was trapped.
Yeah.
My problem with Paige is that it's always been a question of, is she getting her shot because of her looks versus her skill? And then she played into this, and this is a hard conversation for me as a man to have, but her getting her breast implants, and that affecting her weight cuts moving forward, but using that strategically to leverage her brands, and it's like now she's quote unquote more marketable when you've got other women UFC fighters going the opposite direction, taking their breast implants out to focus on performance. And
You're saying this to a guy that just hated on the ring girl walking around with a card.
Well, I think it plays into that same notion of are you here to be a fighter or are you here to be a celebrity? And Paige Van Zandt has clearly made it known that she focuses more on her outside of the ring money making, earning than she does in the ring. But on this fight, she said it's her last fight, so she hasn't promoted anyone on her Instagram. She hadn't gone out on any photo shoots. She's 100% focused on this. If 100% focused, Paige Van Zandt gets submitted in the first round, she's not a good fighter.
Right.
Okay.
That's it.
And remember, Dana. But see, to counterpoint that, Dana said
Coach,
that. I'm sorry. Hold on, George. Just hold.
You got it, man.
Hold that ripcord just for 2 seconds. Okay, Dana White did say that this is an opportunity, not a career. So which way is Dana? Why is Dana so salty when she's done and he's ready to boot out? I took his comments as kind of hypocritical because he should be happy for her that she's got the ability to go elsewhere because he was the one that sat there and said, "This is an opportunity. This is not a career." All right, go ahead and pull that ripcord, George.
You already hit them for me. You already said it, man. These guys over here hating on ring girls and women fighting in the UFC who choose to go dancing with the stars and putting in breast implants. I can't believe it, man. And here we are in 2020, and this is what we got: male chauvinism at its best. Right here.
Cancel culture.
Look at that, man! I can't believe we're going here. This is the thing for me, right here.
Cancel the show.
Paige Van Zandt had an opportunity to have a real career in the UFC. She was training at Team Alpha Male. She was fighting the right fighters, and she was making her way up. And then what happened is she started getting that notoriety because fans started seeing her because she is attractive and she was fighting and winning fights. I mean, she beat Felice Herring, and you know that Kelechi's a huge fan of Felice. And so and so then she gets on Dancing with the Stars, and the UFC community, I would assume, and a lot of the casuals and a lot of the people who don't follow the sport saw her on there, and I think she did some type of dancing or things like that. Anyway, she was good on there, and so she sees that she can do that, and so the need of hers to to train as much as she needs to train and to be as serious as she needs to be, that went away. And you saw that because she wasn't fighting anymore. Dana White himself said
she broke her arm, literally, and then she had to go back in and get it redone like 2 or 3 times. I don't understand why Paige is getting all this hate from you guys.
Dana
you
White
guys don't hate
said,
on Conor McGregor for part-time selling whiskey or other stuff. Like, you get what I'm saying? Though it's like, how come how come y'all have an issue with Paige making her money any way she can, but you don't say these same things on male fighters?
No, my issue with Paige making money any way she can is, as someone who's an advocate for pay transparency and someone who is all about getting fighters union going, the way that she's talked about it has hurt relations for the potential of a fighter union. Because it's like, of course you don't need to make more money in the UFC because it's all, you can make it all up in endorsements. So why would I pay my fighters more if they're just going to make money on the outside? So Paige Van Sant, instead of using her privilege, her voice, her power to aid all fighters, she was all about herself. And I say that about any man too. Like, I have no qualm with Paige as a human being. Like, yes, get yours, but then you can't put yourself in that situation and be surprised by the outcome of your negotiations.
And then to add on to that, for me, I've always been against it when female fighters specifically, are being positioned more for their looks than for their fighting skill. And so since the start of this podcast, I've always said that if we're going to sit there and focus on, the attractiveness of the fighter and have them do all of this modeling type stuff, and they're not backing that up with outstanding performance in the octagon, then I have a problem with that because it just objectifies the female fighters in ways that I don't agree with, which is why I have a problem with ring girls as well. But that's a digression. My point is this. When you have someone like Joanna Jędrzejczyk,
see me giving them the
she's
side
a fighter.
don't you, Casey?
She's a fighter. I mean, we joke about Rose Thug No Hair Namajunas. She's a fighter. She's a real fighter. Then you sit there and you put all of these ladies up, and then you put Paige Van Zandt next to her, and then tell me why we should be acting like Paige Van Zandt is a force to be reckoned with in the UFC. She is a speed bump, and we saw it. Well, we saw it on Saturday night. Paige Van Zandt is nothing more than a speed bump for up-and-coming fighters to show how good they are at beating cheerleaders. There you go.
Hey, as a cheerleader, I resent that.
I just love how
I apologize.
hated on ring girls ended it with the cheerleader statement. But okay, I digress. We can move on to the other.
All right.
The next
All right. This is how heated it gets whenever we are talking about the fights, though. This is great. I appreciate it. Thank you for showing up, Mr. Stallworth, tonight. All right. In the next fight of the night, Jessica Andrade versus Rose Thug No Hair Namajunas. Rose Namajunas defeated Jessica Andrade by split decision, which was a surprise to me. I didn't see it as a split decision.
The split made no sense.
I didn't see how Jessica Andrade could have won anything more than round 3. She won round 3 for sure. I mean, Rose looked like she had gotten into a car accident and wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Well, this was the segue into the judging for the rest of the night. Yeah. We should have known something was off when this judgment came out.
Yeah, I mean, Rose looked great, and this is why I picked Rose to win this fight. Actually, we all picked Rose to win this fight because in the first fight, Rose was dominating Jessica. It's just that she got in a bad position, didn't adjust, and she got dropped on her head. Other than that, as long as she stayed out of those kind of clinch positions where Jessica Andrade could take advantage of her strength in wrestling, then I felt like Rose was going to be okay. And that proved out in round 1 and round 2. Round 3, I don't know what happened, but it went from a technical striking exhibition to a clinic to a street fight in a dark alley.
I think the adrenaline dump hit her right as she was sitting on the stool between 2 and 3, and she just came out there like, let's just do this. But I loved it.
This was a great fight, man. Like this was a fan fight.
And I'm happy to see Rose is back on track. Because I was really scared for her mentally. But she said ever since she got turned into the letter L that she was, she was fine. It was like a reset button for her. So I'm glad she's back.
Good fight all around. I think the third round was more about a fighter realizing that she had the fight won and trying not to make a mistake, and in doing so, making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all around, we still did see a much improved just mental state, and how she fought her rounds 1 and 2 were just masterful.
Mm-hmm. You know what I liked, and it, I don't know. Every time Rose fights, and I know it's not often, but every time she fights, I love Pat Barry.
Yeah,
I love Pat Barry. Like I mean, because when we first started doing this podcast, this was when the travesty of the comeback from Czech Congo occurred, and the travesty of the comeback
moment in UFC history.
It was it did win an award.
Go back and watch that Czech Congo versus Pat Barry fight. It will, if ever you're feeling down in life, sometimes you just need to stay in the fight.
Yeah, that's what happened.
You bum.
If you listen to the actual broadcast statements on the fights that night, when they heard Pat Barry in the background, you heard the commentators remarking, saying, "This is what you want to hear from a corner.
Correct.
These are the type of statements that you want to hear from a corner." I couldn't help but think that these were shots out at Mike Perry's girlfriend, but because there's this dichotomy. Rose had her boyfriend in the corner. Mike had his girlfriend in the corner, and the skill level of coaching was such a difference. But honestly, man, if you heard Pat Barry in that corner, you couldn't help but be motivated and feel like you need to get out there and do some damage to somebody.
If my relationship isn't like that, I don't want it.
Yeah. Dude, Pat Barry is the most supportive. He wins the most supportive boyfriend of the year award.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I mean, even from when she walked out, she's getting all ready to fight. What do you call that moment before you walk into the ring where they're putting the Vaseline on you and stuff like that?
Prep, grease up, whatever you want to call it.
So when she's getting prepped, the way he's talking to her, even then, and you have the embrace, the little kiss, and she goes into the ring, and then you hear her in the corner, and it's great. And this is why I like the empty arenas, because you can hear what he's saying. It's so clear. He's like, "That's how you do it. You go to every time 1, 2," and it's like, man, I agree with you guys. I just felt it right here. He wanted her to win. And when you have a spouse or a significant other who is successful, I mean, let's just be clear. I don't know what Pat Barry does besides coaching, but my guess is that Rose is bringing home the bacon.
Yeah.
And for a lot of men, that can be emasculating. There can be jealousy there. I don't see that with Pat, though.
Well,
I don't see that with
He's assisting her in bringing home that bacon, man.
And he's on mute now. I don't know what
Yeah,
happened.
he's feeling it.
I kind of like Coach like this. Maybe we should have had him when he came in like that.
Oh, he's back now. Yeah.
He's back now. You heard him. He goes,
Oh, you got to run that back, Coach. We missed all that.
we missed what you said.
So-
What did you say?
Basically, I'm sorry, my phone was ringing at the same time. They both connected. But what I was basically saying is, this is the type of support you want in your corner, no matter what, no matter who you are, man. When you hear things like that coming out of your corner, it doesn't matter how bad you did in a round or whatever, and somebody's hyping you up, pushing you on, leading you on. And he wasn't misrepresenting anything that was or wasn't taking place either. So it wasn't like he was giving his fighter a false sense of where they stood in the game.
Right.
But yeah, great job on Pat. Should absolutely be up for running of Coach of the Year, Boyfriend of the Year, all those things. Rose, take care of your man.
That's right.
And the other thing I was really getting at, you guys were talking about how, like, I guess having a significant other in the corner can be almost distracting to some degree, and that's just not how it's played out for them. They've managed to intertwine these roles and be successful at it, man. So Pat Barry cares no shame whatsoever for cheerleading for his woman, man. Absolutely.
That's right.
He is a big reason why she's in the position she's in, and so he deserves a lot of that credit.
100%. 100%. All right, let's go to the next fight. Jose Aldo versus Petr Yan for the vacated 135-pound bantamweight title. Petr Yan defeated Jose Aldo via TKO. I like to call it meat tenderization in round 5 of at 3 minutes and 24 seconds. This started off as a really competitive fight. I mean, I thought Petr Yan was doing really good in the first round, and then the leg kick started, and he was not ready for the Jose Aldo leg kicks. One kick, and he is on the ground. Like, it wasn't a kick. It was a sweep. Like, how do you sweep somebody from, like, 10 feet away? Is that a Muay Thai technique?
Sweep the leg.
I'm going to have to send you guys some videos. I sent y'all one earlier tonight. I got another one to send you.
All right.
I bet you do, sir. I bet you do.
So Jose Aldo is looking like the Jose Aldo of old. And then in round 3 and round 4, Petr Yan starts to pick it up. And we start talking about the fact that perhaps this is one of those cases. We know early in Jose Aldo's career, Jose Aldo has been known to gas and slow down. Like, and so as we're coming out of round 4, it's like, hey, Jose Aldo's looking a little bit slower. He started taking a few more punches from Petr Yan, and then round 5 happens. It just all goes down. Looks like KC is passing gas, so we're gonna just pass.
Whoa! Hold on.
No. You're all leaning forward into the camera.
Has a little circle light in the back there. It's like, oh.
You're all leaning forward into the camera. Like, why are you leaning into the camera?
Can we stay professional here, people?
Okay, round 5. Petr Yan drops Jose Aldo, and it gets scary for me.
Yeah, it gets seriously brutal. I counted the punches there, and it was well over 40 before they stopped the fight. And I got a problem with that. Okay, I have a serious problem with that.
So before you go there with your problem, I like to offer up some defenses on why this happened.
Okay.
One, I'm not familiar with that referee. And I feel like that referee might have been caught in a little bit of the headlights, because part of what happened here is Jose would get put in a position. Petr Yan would go to throwing multiple strikes. And right as the referee normally would be ready to intervene, Jose would move positions. And so the referee felt like he was doing Jose a favor, and that, hey, okay, he's attempting to move positions or better himself. Let me let it play out. And then again, he takes multiple strikes. Referee gets ready to intervene, and again, Jose switches positions. So that there's this kind of back and forth between the referee and Jose. And I'm sure during that time, the referee is also asking Jose, hey, do you want to fight? Are you going to move? Improve yourself. Just all the things the referee would do in a position like that. And so I don't fault the referee, but I do think there was a little bit of inexperience on his part, which is why this fight went on a lot longer than it should have. Jose was doing some things that would have given the referee the idea that, hey, he still wants to fight. He still wants to fight. I get it.
So
to the outside
go ahead, please.
To the outside observer, we're watching it and we're not able to hear the referee talking to Jose saying, hey, improve your position, better yourself, do something. You get what I'm saying? So all we're seeing is Jose take damage, and we're seeing a referee not intervene. We're not recognizing that this referee is talking to him and saying, look, improve or I'm going to stop. And then Jose attempts to improve. Therefore, the referee breaks off. So just my thoughts.
And you know what? I saw that. And I heard him say, Jose, move. You need to move. And he moved. That's all well and good. But, okay, so every 10 shots, you're going to be like, okay, you need to move. He does that. If he keeps responding, that's still unanswered shots. After the first 10, he's like, it should have been like, you got to defend yourself, sir. Okay, you got to do something other than eat these punches, because I'm getting tired of telling him to quit hitting you in the back of the head. All right, he's got to do better. There's got to be the verbiage. I understand the verbiage, and I understood the communication. It's got to be better verbiage to it.
I totally acknowledge. I think this referee was a little green in the game. I don't think he was one of the more veteran referees. I don't think I've ever seen this referee before, but I'm not faulting him per se. You get what I'm saying?
Right, I get it. So yeah, okay. So we'll chalk it up to inexperience.
Go ahead, Casey.
But what about the fact that it's a championship fight, right? And you're talking two very experienced fighters. Jose Aldo's been fighting since he was like 6 months old. Like the dude
had only been a champion for over 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. Before the fight started, I was talking with the guys I was watching the fight with, and we're like, yeah, Jose's got to be like, what, 42, 43? The guy's 33 years old with a fight record of a 60-year-old. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's got a long tooth in the game.
Yeah, but that to me says that he's been in this spot before. You're fighting for a title. You almost have to give benefit of the doubt that the veteran's going to know if he can keep going. And I think that was part of what it was deference towards the fighter knowing, like, all right, he can't tap out, but he has a shot. And at some point it became clear that he no longer had a shot. So I can't fault that it went on that long.
So we were honored on Saturday night to have on the broadcast team with me and George Arjan Carlos Moreno, who we interviewed, who talked about coaching, who talked about reffing, who talked about judging in fights. And what he was saying about the non-call of this fight by the referee was that it is clear that Jose Aldo is not in a position where he is intelligently defending himself. Because he had his hands up here, both of his hands were on his head and punches were raining down, he was not defending himself at that point. He was not in a position to win the fight. He was not reaching and grabbing, trying to secure a leg, to perhaps change a position where he could stop the punches or anything like that. He turtled up, and even though he was changing positions, he never moved his hands from here, which is an indication that this is no longer intelligent defense. Because I can tell you like this: you name an MMA fighter, and I will get in the ring with them, and I will put my hands on my head like this, and then you tell me if I am intelligently defending myself or not. I'm just saying, it's not an intelligent defense.
You're smart enough to cover your face.
It's not intelligent defense. Intelligent defense has to
practice be on Thursday night. Come to class. Come to class.
Oh,
wait, y'all just want to beat on me? I'm just the point I'm making. The point I'm making is if this is all
talk about it, be about it.
No. But the point I'm making is that if I'm laying down there like this and you're beating on me, you should be stopping the fight. Like, that's the point. And this happened for 40 consecutive strikes in a row. Jose Aldo did not throw a single punch back. Like, do we have to have him hand teeth to the referee before we get outraged? I mean, because when he got rocked, he was not bleeding. Before he got out, this dude was pouring blood off of his face because he'd taken so much damage from his face, his ears. It was all kinds of stuff like that. He had exhausted himself trying to defend himself, and this was awful that the referee did not. Like, I don't even believe this whole.
I
this
love
was a championship
the vitriol coming off of your tongue right now. So, was this stoppage as bad as Anthony Smith?
Yes, it was as
really.
It was as bad, in my opinion. You asking for my opinion? It was as bad.
I'm asking for your opinion.
I do believe it was as bad as Anthony Smith, because in both of those cases, neither one of those fighters were defending themselves intelligently. They were just taking unnecessary damage. The only reason why I would say that Anthony Smith's was a little bit worse was because it was allowed to go round 4, and then they put him back in there for round 5, and it happened some more. Thankfully for Jose Aldo, he didn't have anywhere else to go. It was round 5.
I think we should start a new, log of fights that go on way beyond, like, worst stoppages of the UFC. Maybe we should start keeping track of that so we can keep an idea of what referees are committing these infractions and what type of fights these are happening, and whether or not they're championship fights, whether or not they're just to have some idea of these bad stoppages in the UFC. Because it's interesting to see that and to hear you say that you felt this was as egregious as Anthony Smith's fight. Because looking at it as a coach, looking at it as a referee, it was a bad stoppage, don't get me wrong, but I can understand why it was a bad stoppage.
You would have let the fight go.
I'm not saying that. I'd say I can understand how a referee can make a mistake and not stop this fight earlier.
Okay, Kelechi, what you
got?
But
I'm not looking at it in the same light that Anthony Smith took damage.
Yeah,
I agree.
And we've seen some other fights with worse stoppages.
Can we go ahead and make egregious our word for the day?
Was it
John, you
41?
gotta look up the
Okay,
definition
hold on,
of
hold on, hold on,
egregious.
hold on.
Coach came
Egregious.
through with our SAT words. of
Coach
the
got
day.
the SAT word. Galechi, you slipping, man.
I am.
Yeah, I know, right? Egregious. Outstandingly bad. Shocking. Archaically, it was known to be remarkably good.
Really?
Believe it or not. Yes.
Oh,
So
The
it did a
more you
flippy
know.
flop. Hey, the
It-
more
Yeah.
Devastation that he inflicted was egregious.
Yes. Synonyms for egregious: shocking, horrific, horrifying, horrible, terrible, awful, dreadful, ghastly.
All right.
Oh God,
Ghastly hasn't been used enough. Like
Yeah.
ghastly
yeah, I
hasn't
know.
been
That's
used
like that's a 1900 word. That's a sense and sensibility word.
All right.
What
Here
about
we go.
grizzly? Okay. Oh no.
Okay.
Before you go on, Ryan, you deflected a little bit. Are you going to class on Thursday?
No.
All right.
No?
If he
No.
comes to
You want the
class,
different
people,
word?
I will come with a video camera.
My
I will
point.
come with
My
a video
whole
camera.
point. My whole point was that if I'm laying there and someone is beating on me and I am just doing this, stop the fight. Like don't let me go on taking the
But
beating.
you also said that is not intelligent defense.
It is not intelligent defense.
What would you have considered intelligent defense in that situation?
If Jose Aldo would have gone for a leg,
Yes.
if Jose Aldo would have tried to use some Brazilian jiu-jitsu to maybe find Petr Yan in guard,
In trying these things, would he not have opened himself up to a more egregious strike?
Ooh.
yes, he would have.
Okay, then. So would you call that intelligent then? Am I going
No.
to open myself up to a
No,
more devastating strike? That's not intelligent.
because we're playing semantics here. That's the thing. What
Well,
we're
you
talking
started this intelligent defense discussion.
No,
In fact,
no.
you got a board called intelligent defense.
right, and let me defend my point intelligently then.
All right.
Please continue.
loquaciously, if you will.
No gracious. No, we already got our word for tonight. You just trying to steal. You just trying to steal the spotlight.
No, I'm going to add a new
Coach-
word. I think
Yes.
Ryan is being facetious.
Oof.
Oh.
Mm.
No, wait. I'm still trying.
Well,
how do you spell
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious to you too, sir.
Loquacious. Tending to talk a great deal. Wait a minute, that's me. Hold on, man. Hey, I'm
I
loquacious.
mean,
I don't
you do tend
appreciate
to be
that.
rather verbose.
Yes.
Let's move
Facts.
on. I think we need to move on at this point.
All right, let's get
Okay.
Yeah,
I do want to get to this point though. Is it intelligent to try to go for a position that is going to open you up for more strikes?
yes.
Versus were you intelligently defending yourself by this? The answer is, if in order for you to meet the standard of intelligent defense, you need to be putting yourself in some type of risk to improve your position. And so that is what we want to see, is that he got rocked. Now he's got to go and show that he is still in the fight. He is still making intelligent decisions to improve his position. I am getting beat up, and so I need to cover. That is intelligent to protect your head, but it is not an intelligent defense, because we all know by watching the sport what is defined as intelligent defense. And we know that turtling is not intelligent defense. Too many fights have been stopped way sooner for fighters turtling after the damage that they took. And when Jose Aldo was leaking from his face, the fight was continued to go on for at least another 15 to 30 seconds while he has been doing this for 2 minutes. And that is what makes this, to quote the word of the day, egregious.
Mm.
Now, Johnny is lighting up the board, so I want to give Johnny some shine here, and then we can go on to the
Okay.
next fight, because we have an egregious robbery in the next fight. So let's
Oh man.
let's let Johnny have his moment. He said, but like George said, Aldo was trying to improve his position by getting back to guard from the turtle. You see it in jiu-jitsu all the time. Not saying that it was a bad stoppage. Not saying that it was not a bad stoppage, but trying to roll to guard from turtle can be defending yourself by getting you legs between you and the puncher. He goes on to say Aldo was not just lying there. He says he was using Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, just wasn't successful. I disagree with you, Johnny. I would love to go and sit down and rewatch this with you, and we see that this was that for large periods of time he was just getting pounded.
I would love to go back and maybe watch this fight over and do it like a fight companion show where all of us are watching it and get a chance to offer our commentary in the moment. Let me ask you this, Ryan.
Okay.
And Casey, as well as you and John as well.
All right.
So a fighter is defending himself and he gives up his back as opposed to laying flat back to the floor. Would you consider that intelligent defense? Giving up the back. We've seen multiple fighters.
If he is in mount, if he is currently in mount.
I've got a fighter who's about to mount me, and I've got a choice. Give up the back or accept the mount.
Yes, that is intelligent defense, and I'll tell you
Giving
why.
up the back?
Because we know that the pattern that follows is if you are in they are mounted on you, then the next pattern in the position is to turn on your belly so you can post up hands and knees to begin to stand up, right? But you have to protect your neck.
Now,
we know that that's
coach,
the pattern.
You know what I would tell my fighter?
What?
Absolutely just the opposite. I would rather you accept the mount than give up your back.
But we know that's the pattern, right? We've seen.
I'm just being real with you as a coach. I would rather see you accept the mount than give up your back. You hear fighters talk about this all the time. Conor McGregor spoke about it, and he didn't speak about it, but in reference to one of the tough seasons that he coached. He got upset with his fighter for giving up the back. Spoke vehemently about it. Can we put that word in on the flashcards tonight?
Dude, man, we just
hold on.
Do a Google search for a big word.
So frequently, what we see is that when a fighter is getting mounted, and I understand what direction you would provide your fighter. Perhaps I am just not well trained and well versed in what to do in this situation, and it would not turn out to be intelligent.
I think you've seen enough fights to know what fighters typically tend to do. What would a fighter rather give up, his back or the mount?
But if a fighter is trying to get up, you can't. If you give up the mount, it's really hard to get that fighter off your chest. But if you turn and you give up your back, there's a chance you can stand up. It also puts you at risk for the rear naked choke. But that's what we see as fighters who are trying to get back up. They eventually have to give their back and kind of roll so that they get some leverage to get back up. So
hey, see, can we get a little jiu-jitsu expertise in this?
Okay.
Would you rather, work your way?
I'm not even a white belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so
So generally speaking, I don't want to give up my back at all. So I'd rather accept the mount personally. But I will say that depending on your skill level, some fighters can work out of a situation where someone's got your back. So I don't think that it's an either or. I think it really comes down to the skill set of the fighter that's in the mix. And intelligent defense looks different from fight to fight. I don't think this area is truly a stand-in.
I think that's probably a good place for us to come to a synthesis. Is that intelligent defense looks different from fight to fight. But I would say that how do you stand up when someone's sitting on your chest?
Well, you're invited to class on Thursday night, and I can teach you that.
Thursday night. Oh man.
See, you know, to the audience who's watching right now, the reason why George is inviting me to class on Thursday night is because I have pushed one too many buttons, and now it's time for the piper to be paid. Leg kicks.
And very humble teacher of martial arts.
I got a video that shows you slamming some poor kid on the ground like he's a sack of dirty diapers.
I need to quit talking about like he's a child under the age of 18. Make me out like I'm just, manhandling children.
Okay, so they were in the ring. They were fighting. If you go to intelligence events, there's a video right there. It shows Mr. Stallworth in the ring and why we call him Mr. Stallworth. Go check it out.
Mr.
Sir.
Stallworth, sir.
Sir.
Speaking of sir, you got
I'm trying to-
Alexander.
Go ahead.
What's that?
All right. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. This was for the 145 featherweight title. This was a rematch where Volkanovski won a narrow decision versus Max Holloway. He ended up defeating Max Holloway again by split decision, 47-48,
You changed your
48-47.
He did not defeat Max Holloway in any sense of the word.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying
The
officially.
judges, you can official this all you want.
Yeah.
Officially, it was
It was a
Officially.
robbery.
it was a robbery.
It wasn't just a robbery. This was a heist.
Ooh.
They
I would
came
say
in
it
and
was a
took all
miscarriage
the
of
jewels.
justice.
It was grand larceny. There you go.
Somebody needs to be indicted.
So
for what took
what was
place.
interesting about this fight for me is, of course, you've got the height difference, which is just crazy. The two
Yeah.
don't look like they belong in the same octagon. It's like a father beating up his son who's trying to step up.
Did you see the walkout? Alexander Volkanovski walking out. The
Yeah.
dude behind him, you couldn't even see his head. He was so
Exactly.
tall behind Volkanovski. I was like, what is this, Stephen Struve's brother or something? Like, what did they do?
He was looking down on him like, I will protect you.
This
and
is like
kept walking out.
Deuce Bigelow, man. You know, like
So what I loved about this fight is I personally saw a return to a Max Holloway that was a more sustainable fighter, one who wasn't worried about looking cool and getting video game moves in. And he was focused on the fundamentals of fighting, kept great jabs, great leg kicks, really used his length to his advantage and didn't fall into a sucker's fight, right? So he was very technical, and that is the Max Holloway who can win the championship back, or who should have won, honestly. But the fact that he focused on fighting, he didn't have all the other distractions around him, like that Max is sustainable. And as he says, he's 28, he's still blessed, he's feeling good. I can't wait to see a return to that type of Max Holloway in the octagon.
I can't help but piggyback off of you. The other thing that I really liked that Max did, he made adjustments from the last fight. He
Yes,
was checking
did.
leg kicks. He was throwing leg kicks. I had just spoken with one of my fighters about this and how I felt like Max wasn't going to make adjustments because he's not known for doing that. If you look back at any of Max's old fights, he fights pretty much the same way. He reminds me of a Diaz brother in that sense, is that he, from fight to fight, you can expect the same type of deal from Max.
Exactly.
You didn't see that on Saturday night, man. You got a totally different Max Holloway. He came out, he was checking leg kicks, he was throwing leg kicks. Like, he had really improved his game. He had really went back and did the homework in order to win this fight. And unfortunately, there was somebody that felt like they were going to commit a heist in Abu Dhabi. If I was y'all, I'd be checking for the jewels that were in the Crown Prince's room that night, because they might be missing too.
wow.
Soap and towels. All right, so you're right. you're absolutely right. This is why I like Max Holloway. Okay, this is why I saw him from a long time ago and said he is going to be a threat. It's because he does learn. He learns each and every match, believe it or not. And if you don't see him adjust as much, he does do slight adjustments, but he knows his game plan. When he lost his belt, he knew he had to go back to the drawing board and redo everything. Okay, and he came back a better, and a more effective Max Holloway. You're right, he was robbed, and I need that to be ran back one more time. I mean, usually I usually say in a trilogy, once you get to 2-1, that's it. But this was one that there was a robbery committed, and unfortunately, I have to go by my own rule. You never leave it in the hands of the judges.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. In watching this fight, many people had this 3-2 in favor of Max Holloway. I had this 4-1 in favor of Max Holloway. I didn't even think this was a very close fight. I felt like Volkanovski didn't show up the way he did in the first fight. And maybe that's because Max made some adjustments and Volkanovski didn't adjust to Max's adjustments. But the fact is that his output was low the first 2 rounds for sure. The third one might have been a little close, but I still had Max winning that round. And then, the 5th round was kind of a bit of a matchup. So 3-2, maybe 4-1, but definitely not 2-3, where Max Holloway lost this fight to Volkanovski. So, Johnny's watching. He says, if you look at the 5 points of judging, max one across all those points. Don't quite know what the 5 points of judging are, but I agree that based upon my own assessment of how I judge a fight, which I'm learning these days, perhaps I need to come to practice on Thursday night so that I can improve my judging skills. I still had Max win in that fight.
If he shows up to practice, I'll have a video cam.
If I show up to practice, why would I tell you if I'm going?
George will tell me. George will tell me.
Then I'm just gonna show up. You're not gonna be able to react.
Old school style. You just show up at a dojo and challenge the.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna walk into that place and I'm gonna be like,
let me open up the
show me your master.
Everybody from combat sports. So Casey, when you come down, you come out too. But yes, particularly Thursday night, Ryan, I'll make it easy for you. 6 p.m. I have a heavy bag class. So you don't even have to worry about accepting the mount from somebody or someone trying to take your bag. They might try to take your bag. Let's work that.
Listen, sir, I just want to say that I have taken previous classes that you've had with heavy bags, and I know what you do with those heavy bags. Like, that is definitely not the class I'm coming to. But I do want to run up. I do want to run up in there and do it old, 70s kung fu theater style, where I'm like, "Give me your master. Who is ready to fight me? I'm going to kick his tail." And if you're not watching, if you're not watching the video, then you're not seeing me doing my bad dub impression. So there you go. I want your master.
That was pretty good, actually. I have to admit, that was pretty good.
I was watching an episode of One Punch just then.
Oh, dude. One Punch Man. All right. And in the main event of the evening, Kamaru Usman defeated Jorge Masvidal by unanimous decision what do they say, Kelechi?
Naija no de carry lasts.
That's right. And that is your cultural awareness moment.
I'm just saying, we've got a lot of Nigerian champions inside and outside the UFC. So you got Kamaru, of course. Then you've got
Izzy,
Adesanya,
and then Anthony Joshua. I mean,
say it like a Nigerian would say it. Adesanya, is that proper?
So he's from a different tribe. I would just butcher that name if I'm honest.
Well,
but the people are upset about this fight. They're like, Kamaru Usman fought a boring fight. Kamaru Usman, all he did was hold Jorge Masvidal up against the cage and do foot stomps. That's how you have to fight.
I have to hold myself back and not go all the way in on this. But this is indicative of a fight fan who doesn't understand what it is that they're watching, first of all. And secondly, it's like this need to be like this gladiator mindset of, are you not entertained? Because we've got a short memory if we want to say that Kamaru Usman is this really slow fighter who's boring and all he does is wrestle. He literally on my birthday broke Colby Covington's jaw.
Wow.
Let's not forget that.
I love how he tossed himself in it on my birthday.
Exactly.
Like,
that's how it was just such a
he hit Kamaru up, was like, do it for the gram. I got you, bro.
But it's this notion of these fight fans who are finding a reason to hate Kamaru rather than putting the blame on their favorite, Jorge Masvidal. If Usman was so boring that all he did was wrestle and it was this slow thing, and we're going to completely discount all of the body shots that Masvidal had to absorb in that clinch. So let's just say it was this boring fight. Why aren't we mad at Masvidal? Why is no one calling out Masvidal for not being able to break out of that? Like, you're supposed to be Tony Montana. You're the dude. No one can hold you down. And yet you literally were held down.
You need you to quit hating on the Cuban and understand why. 6 days.
Okay. So we're not gonna do that because guess what?
We're doing it.
No, because if you show up in the ring,
is all that Usman had to prepare for.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, if you come in 6 days, if you come in 2 days, if you come in half an hour, if you step up in that ring, you said you were ready for whatever happens. I applaud Masvidal for that. Okay, I applaud him for that. However, You cannot. And I agree with KC when he sits there and says that people are talking about how wrestlers are boring. They said this. Oh God, let me go. Let me count the
The
way.
list is long.
Okay. We have Randy Couture. We have Tito Ortiz. Heck, I'll even throw in Chuck Iceman Liddell because he reverse wrestles. Okay.
You
We
throwing GSP.
I'm getting ready to. One of the greatest martial artists to hit the ring. Okay, you could throw in
So
all these wrestlers, and y'all always call them boring. No, they drag them out. They grind them for the entire time, make their match miserable, so they
What?
can intentionally say, "Do not come back into this ring with me."
I'll tell you why I thought this fight was even more entertaining. Masvidal actually tried to counter wrestle. If you
Yes.
saw many of the things he did to defend takedowns, and don't get me wrong, Kamaru got like 5 takedowns, but we know he attempted way more, man. And I was really
16
surprised
or 18.
at the
Yeah.
at the skill level of Kamaru. I'm not Kamaru, but Masvidal, and shrugging off many of those takedown attempts. And
So
then on top of that, several of the takedowns weren't even effective because he would get taken down and get right back up.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
So
And
what we're all saying ultimately, I'm sorry to cut you off, Ryan.
no
What we're
worries.
saying is that we can't wait for a full camp for Jorge Masvidal and a
I'm not
full
saying
camp for. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I can't wait. I can't wait for it for a full camp for Masvidal and a full camp for Usman, focusing only on Masvidal. Okay, that is what I wait for.
So I just want to put a little bit of history out there. This
Uh,
entire Combat Sports Talk, the entire website, the podcast, and everything started with me defending George St. Pierre and the way he fought, and the fact that his grinding and wrestling style was something that should be admired and not talked badly about. And that's the same thing for Kamaru Usman. No, it wasn't an exciting fight. It wasn't. It was methodical. It was.
I'm going to disagree with you on that.
yeah,
I
I'll disagree with you as
no,
well.
I didn't say it was boring. I feel like that is the fight he needed to fight.
I thought it
Kamaru
was a
Usman.
very exciting fight.
Okay, to each their own. But for me, I didn't think it was all that exciting because once he got Masvidal in the position, clinched on the cage, and he's stomping his foot, he's hitting that body, and he landed over 228 strikes in the fight. Like, he controlled this fight, and I tried to explain this to a friend of mine. I was like, if you had a little brother, um, or maybe even your kid, have you ever wrestled with them, held them down, and just tapped them on the face? Just tap them on the face. You don't have to hit them that hard, but you're showing that the fact that no matter what you do, you can't escape me. I am in control, and I am dictating where this fight is going this entire time. And he did that for 25 minutes. Jorge Masvidal landed less than 100 strikes in 25 minutes. That is impressive. And so to say that, well, no one wants to watch Kamaru Usman fight. To KC's point, the fight before, he broke Colby Covington's jaw on his birthday.
And if I'm not mistaken, he just tied GSP's record. Is that not?
Yeah, that's
Have
correct.
y'all heard about that?
Yeah,
That is correct. Sir.
So Kamaru Usman is doing things at only 30% that people have worked their whole lives to be able to do. And so if we ever see the full power of, Dragon Ball Z level 9,000 Kamaru Usman, who knows if Yaz Island can sustain it?
I also have to think through just where we are as a UFC fan base and what the org has moved to. So there's a lot of people who don't like Usman and won't give him credit for this win, despite, again, if you're saying that you're game bred, you're ready to fight anytime, anywhere, well, this is what happens when you don't get your full camp. Like, game bred means you're ready, right? Well, were you ready? You were as ready as you could be. In the same way that what we talk about the 6 or 8 days that they had leading up to this, Kamaru had that exact same amount of prep for a fighter like Masvidal. So we can't take away from the skill set that was employed there. But the other side of this is, like, Masvidal has become everything that he talked about not wanting to be. Like, he is all about the show. He's wearing these outlandish masks. He's supporting political candidates now. He's out there wearing robes. Like, the man is a caricature of who he says he is, which is this guy who's ready to fight. And then you look at the flip side of it, and Kamaru has, while always willing to stand up and go toe-to-toe with somebody talking trash, Kamaru is seldom the initiator for trash talk. And what he does is he takes the DC route, which is like, I'll explain what's going on and y'all can hate me or love me, but he's just a good fighter. And I think that's where we're going to end up with Usman down the road, is we'll look back at his legacy the way that we look at Cormier's legacy, which is, man, I thought it was boring, but when you look back at it, he was just a dominant fighter.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to talk trash.
I'm gonna slip in here just for a moment, and then I'll go to you, George. But I want to be clear that it's not Masvidal who's talking smack about Kamaru Usman. Masvidal in the post-fight press conference was like, "Hey, he was the better man tonight. He took the fight where he wanted to go. I tried to do a few things, and he fought a smart fight." You know, to Johnny's point here, I just want to pop that in there. He says every time Masvidal gets space in the pocket, it gets exciting real fast. Usman, you know, felt those exchanges. He defended well, counterpunch, closed the distance, and then took away Masvidal's space to operate. And that is true. When Masvidal has you in the center of the ring, you're in danger because those bombs come quick and they are accurate. But that fight, Kamaru found a way to get that up against the cage, and Masvidal understood what it was that Kamaru was doing, and he was powerless to stop it. And I think that's what he communicated in the post-fight press conference. Go ahead, George.
So I guess the point that I want to jump on next was about Nigerian, what would you call it, influence, Nigerian dominance taking place in the UFC right now. If I'm not mistaken, is Ngannou, he's of Nigerian descent as well,
he's
right?
Cameroon.
Congo. Yeah.
He's from the Congo. Okay.
Cameroon.
Can we get a fight in Africa? I mean, look at what we got going on here, man. We got Adesanya, we got Ngannou, we got Kamaru. Can we see a fight take place somewhere off of the coast of, you know, the Ivory Coast or somewhere? I mean, can we, Dana, can you hook that up? Can you help a Black Lives Matter brother out?
Too dangerous right now. It's too danger's.
I'm just saying.
You could go to Johannesburg. You could go somewhere in South Africa.
Yeah, we could even do they've got a promotion over in Africa. I think it's called EFC, Extreme Fight Championship or something like that. And there are actually quite a few fighters who have fought EFC and changed over to the UFC at some point. So I don't know, man. I think that's something that hasn't been on the UFC's radar, and it probably should be.
Dana White has expressed after the Israel Adesanya fight against Yoel Romero, there was a question about whether or not Dana White saw fights coming to Africa. And he absolutely said that is an emerging market that he wants to begin to tap into. I mean, it only benefits the UFC if they can fight on 6 of 7 continents in the world. And so Africa being, you know, one of the largest continents on the planet, and we have not seen a fight there, then, you know, I think that is, you know, the UFC is remiss, but I think there's also the need to be able to build the following for their brand. There may be an EFC there, but if the UFC doesn't have a following there yet, if the UFC is concerned about trying to sell out a show, what kind of card are you going to put in Africa? Are you going to do a fight night? Are you going to do a pay-per-view? Like,
dude, you just dropped buku money on Fight Island, and we didn't actually fight on the beach.
Well, but the Fight Island, the reason for dropping the buku money on Fight Island was because you've got such a large contingent of international fighters that you have no place to bring them. So you're only fighting with U.S. fighters, and they are not necessarily, one, willing to fight whenever the card needs them to fight, and two, in many cases, they're more expensive fighters. So in bringing them to a location like Abu Dhabi, where international fighters are free to come in there because they don't have the State Department restrictions like we have in the United States, that's why you did it there. You know, you've also got a place where you've got millions of, I don't know if you have millions of millionaires, but you have thousands of millionaires there where you can do a lot more than you can in other places in Africa, where while you have millionaires, and I'm not saying you don't,
You got all kind of islands off the coast.
You don't
Of
have
Africa.
you don't yet, as I'm guessing, and this is my speculation, you don't have the level of infrastructure and commitment that you have in Abu Dhabi.
Mm,
And I think that's fair.
mm.
So anyway, that's it. That is your UFC 251 card. We have one thing to talk about, and that is there's more fights. There's another fight on Wednesday. We're going to make those picks real quick. UFC on ESPN 13 in the fight card. This is the fight card. This is where we look at the fights coming up on Wednesday night. This is UFC on ESPN 13, Cutter versus Ige. Wednesday, July 15, 2020 in Yaz Island, a.k.a. Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. We've got 5 fights on the card. We've got Abdul Razak Al-Hassan versus Monir Lazez. We've got Molly McCain versus Talia Santos. Jimmy Rivera is back versus Cody Stamann. Tim Elliott in the co-main event versus Dallas, Texas's own babyface Ryan Benoit. And in the main event, we've got Calvin Cutter versus Dan Ige. We're going to make flash fight picks on the co-main and the main. Tim Elliott versus Ryan babyface Benoit. George, G-Money Stalwart, what can you tell us about Ryan Benoit?
Dude, this kid has been starching people. He's on a whole nother level. You guys need to go out and watch Ryan. He's an exciting fighter, man. I've learned so much just watching this guy, holding pads for him from time to time, getting him to hold pads for me from time to time. Ryan's a great fighter, man. I expect him to walk away with a win. Big W.
All right. Who's gonna bet against? So okay, let me set this up with a little background.
I like how you came out of there. Who's gonna bet what? So in the game of craps in Las Vegas, there's a line. It's called the come line. That means you believe that they are going to roll their point. On the other side of the board, you've got a don't come line, and that means you think that they're going to roll craps. It's considered bad luck.
You ain't never lied, man. Okay.
Bro, I held it as long as I could.
See this.
Ryan, I'm gonna
this
need you to
is
wait
why.
to come to class till after Ryan Benoit's fight. Come to class the same night he comes to class. That's what you do.
No.
Let's talk about
So
that.
what I'm saying is, who is going to bet against Ryan? Because I sure am not. Kelechi and I saw him fight Sergio Pettis in Dallas at UFC, 185? We support the hometown heroes, man. So Ryan Benoit has my vote. Kelechi, John, y'all who's gonna be the one to have Mr. Benoit roll up on you?
Shoot,
He lives too close, dog. I can't do it.
But not even for just being a homer. Like, his skill set, like,
Uh-huh.
I think he's got what it takes to keep moving up. So, yeah,
All right.
I can't bet against him.
All right, we are unanimous. We are all in favor of babyface Ryan Benoit. So go out there and get that W for us. All right.
Yeah.
In the main event of the evening, Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige. I like Dan Ige in this fight, man. Like, I saw him when he fought against what's his name from Brazil? Edson Barbosa. Edson Barbosa. That fight, I thought Edson was winning that fight, and then Ige turned that thing around. Dude, he is a game fighter. I like him. Straight out of Hawaii. He ain't scared of nothing. I like Dan Ige in this fight. That's who I'm voting for. Who you got, KC, Mr. Smirk?
Qatar all day, because they're fighting so close to Qatar.
As good a reason as any.
There it is.
There it is. Mr. John Keys.
I'm looking at the odds right now, and I'm going to throw him to the side because, like that Edson Barbosa fight, I mean, Edson Barbosa was set to win that fight too, and Ige pulled it out of his rear. So with that said, I'm going with Ige on this one. I think he can do it again.
All right, up to you, George. Who you got?
Well, Ryan, you already made your pick, right?
I have. I'm going with Ige.
I just want to remind y'all that Ryan once upon a time was on the Calvin Qatar hype train.
Oh.
You remember that, Ryan?
He was a cater guy. He was trying to cater to
You're
you.
betting against your hype train pick, Ryan.
Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype.
It's gonna cost you, bro. Calvin gets it done.
All right.
Wow.
All right. Listen, I don't mind being wrong, but I'll never admit it. I don't even know if that makes sense.
Exactly.
You'll never admit that you don't mind being wrong.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure you stole that line from my ex-wife. Pretty sure.
Oh my.
All right.
goodness.
Well, follow us on social media, and let me turn on our social media icons here. So follow us on social media. You on Instagram, I'm Combat Sports Talk. John Keys,
I am at Keys to Victory.
KC,
I am at Push Pull Pray.
and if you want to see Mr. KC topless,
Fans only,
You can
only
find me
fans.
at OnlyFans.
For the low price of.
Right?
all right,
Yeah.
and George,
Dark side _MMA_.
all right,
Find me
you
on
can,
Instagram.
and you can find us on our website at www.combatsportstalk.com. We are on all your favorite podcasting platforms. All of these you can find Combat Sports Talk. So definitely look us up there. Shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, Bloody Elbow, and the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group on Facebook. That's where a lot of these conversations start and where we get a lot of the content that we use for the show. So on behalf of George G. Money Stallworth, John Keys, and Casey Kalechi Onyebuchi, my name is Ryan Smith, and I am reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.